I have what's called a balanced chromosome translocation. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about chromosome abnormalities. I couldn't if I wanted to. I'm not a geneticist. But the way it was explained to me was that sometime in my genetic ancestry, a piece of one chromosome broke off, and a piece of another broke off, and the pieces traded places. The translocation isn't unique to me. I inherited it from one of my parents. I know this because there are members of my extended family who have the same translocation. So what that means for me, and everyone in my family, male or female, who has this abnormality, is that every time they conceive, they had or will have a greater than 50% chance of miscarriage. And that's on top of the normal rate of miscarriage, which is usually cited at between 10 and 20%. About 30 years ago, my husband and I decided to start a family. My first pregnancy, which I was very happy about, ended after about 11 weeks in what is medically termed a missed abortion or missed miscarriage. That means that my body didn't realize that the fetus had died, and so I did not bleed. My cervix remained closed, and the dead tissue, if it had remained inside me, could have become infected and could have rendered me incapable of having children at all. If left completely untreated, it could have even killed me. I would go on to have 6 other miscarriages that I knew of. And because I had excellent medical care, including access to abortion services, I also had 2 healthy children. Now, for those who think, oh, well, you're the exception. Of course, if the fetus dies, you should be allowed to have an abortion. Here's the thing. There's no way to tell for absolute certain. All of my miscarriages happened before the 12-week point, which is when CVS testing can be done to check the chromosomes. Even HCG testing isn't foolproof. During one of my pregnancies, they checked my HCG levels every 3 days. At one point, the levels began to decline instead of doubling, and I was warned that this pregnancy would likely end in miscarriage. Again. But then the HCG levels began to double again, and eventually I gave birth to a healthy child. Sometimes heartbeats are undetectable, even in a healthy fetus, depending on when the ultrasound is done, the skill of the technician or doctor, and a lot of other factors. So doctors can make very educated diagnoses, but they can't prove that the fetus is dead until you begin to expel tissue. If you expel tissue. What doctor is going to risk losing their license, or worse, if they can't prove that the fetus is dead? Also, balanced translocations are not as rare as you might think. Numbers are difficult, but the most common ones I've seen say that between 0.1 and 0.3% of the population has a balanced translocation. In the US, that equates to between 300,000 and almost 1 million people. Not all unbalanced translocations are incompatible with life. Some cause severe birth defects. Some can result in full-term pregnancies only to produce a stillbirth. This happened to my mom. So outlawing abortion services as part of a woman's reproductive care will result in medical tragedy for lots of people with this chromosome abnormality, including people who are very special to me. But here's the thing. Nothing about the story I just told is the reason I believe in a woman's right to receive reproductive care and to make her own choices about her own body. I was raised in the Catholic Church. I was a staunch Catholic until my early 20s. I used to write letters to the editor defending the so-called pro-life positions. I grew up in Texas, in a conservative family, in a conservative town. The first vote I ever cast for president was for a Republican. When I graduated from college, I briefly shared a house with 3 other people. One of these people, I'll call her Alice, was not a particularly good friend, but I liked her. She had recently changed careers and worked full-time, plus some side jobs, and shared a house with 3 other people just to make ends meet. One of the other people in the house, I'll call her Lauren, was Alice's best friend. One day, Alice informed us that she was pregnant. I was shocked. I had never even seen her go on a date. She said it was a one-time thing and that she would probably never again see the guy. She told us that she intended to have an abortion. Well, Lauren went kind of ballistic. I didn't know Lauren to be particularly religious, but she apparently had a strong conviction against abortion. This confused me. I was the one who was Catholic. I still went to Mass every Sunday at that time. I was the one who was supposed to be indignant at the idea of Alice having an abortion. But I wasn't. All I could see was a kind, smart young woman who was trying to be independent and responsible. She did not expect to get pregnant, she did not want to be pregnant, and she did not intend to be a parent, at least not yet. Since Lauren wouldn't drive Alice to the clinic, I offered to do it. What I realized was that Alice's decision was none of my business. Even if I felt strongly about abortion, Alice's choices were her own. I could be kind to her and give her a ride, or I could be sanctimonious about it, like her best friend Lauren, and just let her suffer. Also, Alice did not come to her decision lightly. She was not happy that she needed the procedure, but she knew that having a child would be the wrong decision for her. After the procedure, she went through what I would eventually have to go through several times. D&Cs are painful. Trust me, they are no fun. But Alice never regretted her decision, and I never regretted giving her a ride. Alice's story, which happened before I even knew about my chromosome translocation, was what made me begin to change my mind about abortion laws. Later in life, I would change my mind about Catholicism, too, and I would learn more about pregnancy, miscarriage, chromosomes, and when life begins than I ever cared to. But I never forgot Alice. If you take nothing else away from this video, please take this. Abortion is health care. It was for me, and it was for Alice. People who oppose abortion access like to try to shock others with scary rants about killing babies, but what they don't talk about is the lives that are saved when abortion is legal and accessible. I know that those lives saved could belong to someone I love very much, but don't forget, they could also belong to someone you love very much.